Okay, let's talk about measuring for main and rod bearing clearance on one of these engines. These all here are master setting rings. This one there is for the main bore. That one there is for the rod. That one there is for the rod bore. And that one there is for the main with a bearing in it. Then I have my plug gauges, which that's for the rod. And then this one is for the main. Okay, so I will zero my dial indicator, which reads the 10,000ths of an inch, and the certified ring gauge, which is what this is. And that's pretty much on the money. Okay, and then I will take this piece here, and I will put it in this one, and I'll do the same thing. That's going to be kind of impossible to do while I'm making a video, but just take my word for it. I'm going to adjust it here and I'm going to zero it out. So then after that's done, I will come over here and I will measure the crank with it. This is called a snap gauge. And that's going to be 5/10 below nominal, which is 2.4995 on these engines. So then I'm going to come over to the block and I'm going to insert it in here, and I'm going to measure it, and at the point of deflection, of course it doesn't want to work. There's the point of deflection. Focus. It's about 18. Okay. So I'm going to write them all down. So I measured all the crank and they all were -5. I measured the block and I had 21, 19, 12, 13, 13, 15. And then you come up with your clearance. Well, the next question is going to be, are these clearances okay? That one right there I'm going to tighten up. That one right there I'm going to tighten up. These two right here were on the money. That's great. But what does this mean? Well, that means that the bearings have two halves. So it's possible for a front half and a back half to measure a little difference. Now, 1 or 2 10,000ths, I'm not worried about that. That could be the way I'm holding the gauge. It could be the temperature in here. But the one thing I know is that the temperature in here is, say it's 70. So all of these tools and parts have all been at this temperature for a long time. Nothing's left this shop probably a month for this engine. It's all the same temperature. If I was to take some stuff outside or extreme to put this in the hot wash, then come back out and mic it, it's going to be different. So if you ever go into a real place that builds a lot of engines, you'll find they have a controlled temperature room, which is what you need to make sure. As long as it's a controlled temperature, I think it's 68 degrees. But these are all, they read in 10,000ths of an inch. Some of them have the little sweeper under there. That'll get you. I've been gotten by that before. But this is what it takes to measure the clearances. You can measure them with plastic gauge, and plastic gauge is okay. You can also get a micrometer and do it with a mic. Okay, micrometer, and you can mic this out and get you a number, and you can do that 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then you can do it 6 more times for the rods. That'll work too. It's a little bit more time consuming. You can use a snap gauge. Another version of snap gauge. You can stick it in there and get a dimension, and then you can mic it out and do your math that way. This is the way that I was taught how to do it by RC. And of course, this is, right now I'm just specializing in one type of engine. So for one type of engine, having all these master setting rings is a pretty good way to do it. Now, bring some small block Chevys and some Fords and some Chrysler junk in here, and that's going to change things up. Then I'm going to have what you call a master setting fixture, which is what you're going to set one of these in. And if I want 2.500, I'll set it in there. I'll measure it. I'll get it the point of deflection at 0. and then I'll go back on and measure it. Now, machine shops and race shops, they have a master setting fixture. I'm just a guy that specializes in Buick V6s. But Rob King, there you go, buddy. Your rod bearing clearances are perfect. I'm not worried about any of those. Your main bearing clearances will need a little bit of work, and I will address that in the morning. But we will have a crank and a rotating assembly in this block before too long. Okay, so the last trick I have up my sleeve is this rod. This rod is 2.500. So once its bearings are set and everything, I'm going to insert it in the main bore, and it will check the main bore for straightness and see how it feels. Okay, it's in, it's free, it goes back and forth. So this is the equivalent of a crankshaft. And again, this was something that Richard Clark, he bequeathed one of these upon me. And I'm thankful for this because this is very useful for checking a quick check of the main to make sure it's straight. So there's the tools, the precision tools to get these things, the clearances where they should be, so we have a solid foundation